And that's where we've been sold a lie. You were told a rider who trains 8 hours a week to train like Mads Pedersen. It's a copy and paste culture. It's an influencer economy that took a training model engineered for men doing 30 to 40 hours a week who are backed by a chef, a physio, a live-in coach, a soigneur and a full-time performance team. And they sold it wholesale to a lad who's trying to steal 6 hours a week around a mortgage, a full-time job and a school run. They took the pros do polarized and they quietly rewrote this as, you must do polarized. It's the best way to train. The problem here is they stripped out the context, the volume, the absolute watts, the recovery support, the entire reason the model works in the first place, and they handed you the bare ratio like it was a law of physics. It isn't a law, it's a solution to a problem that you don't have. The professional and the amateur, they're solving opposite problems. The pro has almost unlimited training time, so his challenge is managing that unlimited training time, fitting in that high volume without cooking himself. The amateur, well, he has the opposite challenge. Barely any time, so every hour has to count for as much as possible. One rider is trying to survive the load, the other rider is trying to squeeze value out of scraps. Hand them the same plan, and you've solved a problem that only one of these riders actually has. Let's be honest about what your actual training week looks like. 8 hours if you're organised, 10 to 12 hours if your family's away and the weather holds, and realistically for a lot of you watching this, there's weeks in there where you're only getting 4 to 6 hours. Now try to force a strict polarised model onto that. 80% easy means you spend nearly all of your precious hours, zone 1 and zone 2, going deliberately soft because that's what the rule commands. Then you bolt on a tiny slice of hard work on top, and the problem screams at you the second you say it out loud. You don't have the volume to make the easy 80% add up to anything meaningful. The entire reason all that low intensity works for a professional is that there's an absolute mountain of that low intensity, 20 plus hours a week of that low intensity. Shrink that mountain down to 6 hours, 4 hours, and the easy ride stops being a training stimulus. You're going slow, you're just not going slow for anywhere near enough hours for slow to actually matter. And the research agrees with this, which is the part the Zone 2 crowd never quotes. When you look at lower volume riders and less trained athletes, pyramidal training, the kind that deliberately keeps a real chunk of moderate work in the mix, matches or beats a strict polarised model. The clear polarised advantage shows up mostly in already fit athletes doing very high volume, which is, once again, the professionals. So for you, the middle is not the enemy. The middle is where you should be living. And here's the flip, the thing that nobody's selling you Zone 2 dogma wants to say out loud. Upper Zone 2, Zone 3, tempo, sweet spot, that productive middle that everybody's told you to fear. For a time-crunched amateur, it is some of the most efficient training on earth. And the reason lands you right back on what Rec talked about, that zones are relative but the cost is absolute. Because your watts is lower, the middle doesn't cost you what it costs a professional rider like Mads Pedersen. Your carbohydrate burn, it's manageable in the middle. Your glycogen doesn't fall off a cliff in the middle. Your recovery isn't impaired from the middle. You turn up the next day and you can do it again because the cost of you riding in the middle isn't as high. You get a big aerobic stimulus and you build a specific ability to hold hard, steady effort, which by the way is precisely what a sportive or a road race actually demands of you. And you do it all inside the hours you genuinely have. Sit with that irony for a second. The exact thing that makes the middle a terrible deal for Mads Pedersen is the thing that makes it a brilliant deal for you. His watts make it expensive for him, your watts make it very affordable for you. And this was Rec's real message for amateurs long before he was coaching world champions. He never told ordinary riders to copy the pros, he told them the opposite. Find the training that fits your life. You don't bend your life around your training. Most amateurs get faster simply by being able to load a little more consistently in a way they can actually sustain. Not the perfect ratio, the sustainable load. Now I want to give you an idea that kept circling back to in this conversation with Matthias Rec because it's where the whole sport is headed and it ties this bow nicely together. This word durability, fatigue resistance. It's not really about your fresh numbers anymore. Any coach can read your 20-minute power on a good day with fresh legs. The real question in modern cycling is what your legs are worth after 3 hours, after 4 hours, when the tank is half empty and the race is still on. This is what separates riders now, and here's where it all snaps back to fuel. The durability research is clear. The whole thing hinges on carbohydrate availability. As you burn through your glycogen over a long ride, your power drifts down at every marker. your efficiency drops. Your body is forced to recruit less efficient muscle fibers just to hold on to the same wattage you held a few hours earlier. Run yourself low on fuel and everything gets worse at once, which hands you two lessons. One, the professionals ration the expensive middle to protect their fuel and their durability across enormous volume. Two, you can afford to live in the middle precisely because your absolute demand is low enough that you're not constantly redlining your fuel system. But this is the coaching part that actually matters. You still have to fuel the work you actually do. The single biggest mistake I see in amateurs, it's not the wrong zone. It's doing quality work on an empty tank and then wondering why they're wrecked and stalled out all the time. Nutrition and energy intake can affect performance more than training itself. So fuel the session, eat the carbs, and the middle turns into a weapon instead of a hole you dig yourself into. Right, let's make this something you can use next Tuesday on your ride, because I'm not here just to give out and moan. I would encourage you to stop mimicking what the pros do and stop trying to be a fake professional. Bin the idea that 80-20 is the sacred scripture. It was written for a life that you don't lead. Keep your genuinely easy rides easy. A recovery day is still a recovery day. Don't let that drift into grey. But when it's time to do the work, stop being afraid of the middle zone. You can allocate some training time into zone 3. You can build your week around 2 quality sessions. I like training in that upper zone 2, that fat max just below zone 3. Tempo and sweet spot are also super efficient places to train. The stuff you can recover from and repeat. If you want to pepper in some hard efforts above threshold when the plan calls for it to keep that top end sharp, definitely do. And fill whatever space is left with the volume you can actually get in. That shape is pyramidal, where we're not afraid of that middle zone. A base where you can build one, a solid block of productive middle, and a sharp point at the top. For your life, at your watts, in your hours, the pyramidal will beat forcing a professional's polarized model into 6 hours training a week. And you need to make sure you fuel this session. Carbs on the bike, because durability is the game now, and durability runs on glycogen. So here's what I want you to do to walk away with. The zone on your screen, that's relative, but the cost, that's absolute. That's the whole thing in 9 words. The professionals cut out the middle because 400 watts and 30 hours a week, it absolutely ruins you, and it robs you of the sessions that win you races. You're not paying that price. At your watts, in your hours, the middle is the single best value ground for you to train on. So don't copy the pros model, copy the thinking. Matthias Rett coaches the best classics riders in the world by asking one question: what can this rider absolutely handle? He coached amateurs by asking a completely different one: what fits this person's life? 2 questions, 2 worlds. This whole disaster started the day somebody decided there was one answer for both questions. Zone 2 didn't fail you. The advice did. The context got stripped out of it, and you got handed a professional's ratio like it was a gospel. Train for the life you actually have, fuel the work, live in the middle when the middle is cheap for you. That's the play. If this podcast reframe the way you look at your zone 2 training, do me a favour and fire this into your club WhatsApp group, because I guarantee you half the lads in there are still slavishly riding around on 6 hours a week, being so strict on zone 2, and quietly wonder why they've stopped getting faster. I'd be really interested to hear what sort of weekly training hours, so please drop them in the comments and your threshold, and I'll tell it to you straight whether you should be living in the middle or whether you should avoid it. And if you want to go deeper and you want to work with me one-on-one, you can apply to join our coaching community at roadmancycling.com/apply. Cheers lads, and I'll talk soon.